I'm Laury Lancaster, and this is my service dog, Kai. I did 34 years in the Army in counterintelligence and retired in 2021. And Kai and I have now been training for almost 9 months. Okay.
So 2021 is when you retired. How long was it? And I'm assuming there were some issues that you ran into. How long was it where you, until you got to the point where you said, I need some help?
Well, I've been dealing with the VA and occupational therapy and PTSD. And so we had been looking at how to do this with the least amount of stress. And so a lot of the things that I had with Kai were already in progress. And I met Leslie and I talked to Jonathan and got all the paperwork together. It probably took 3-4 months through the paperwork process. And then we adopted Kai from Hearts of Gold and got started in the program as soon as she turned a year old.
You just brought up actually something we haven't really talked about with any of the other vets today. You brought up the word stress. Within doing the Soldier's Best Friend program, fairly low stress for you?
The Soldier's Best Friend part of it is pretty low stress because you have a process and it's pretty straightforward. The VA side of that, getting doctors to do the paperwork, it can be a little more stressful. And if somebody isn't already in the system and in the program with VA, it's more difficult. So it's helpful if somebody's already dealing with their mental health provider and if they've already got that in progress, then it doesn't take as long. Occupational therapy, because I've been doing that for quite a bit longer, took 15 minutes. I mean, I went in, I saw the occupational therapist, they're like, signed off on it, here's what you need, and it was done.
So the actual training with Soldier's Best Friend is a fun process? How would you describe it?
I've strengthened friendships. I've made new friendships. The support of the other teams and the trainers has been very helpful. I'm getting out doing more than I've done in a really long time. I didn't realize how much I'd isolated, how much I was doing, and how much I wasn't going anywhere without my spouse or my daughter. I wasn't doing anything by myself at all anymore. And so sometimes Kai knows me better than I know myself. And she makes me more aware of the things I need to work on. And she's positively impacts my mental health and my physical health. Helps me with social interactions, helps me interrupt bad moments where 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have gone out at all. So that makes a big difference for me. She's significantly reduced the number of falls that I've had. Right. So I've had fewer injuries. She opens doors for me, which is really nice. And then she alerts to medical needs too. If my system is not working the way it should or have other things going on, she will interrupt or sit on my feet. And that I found that to be very helpful too, because then even if I'm not tracking it, she gives me a marker to stop and reset.
You also mentioned your husband and your daughter. If you can put it into words, and I don't think it's an easy thing to put into words, but how has Soldier's Best Friend helped your relationships with them since you've been in the program?
I think there is less frustration overall, and we have a really good relationship. And my daughter's a teacher, and so we've done really well for most things. But they're more comfortable now. They worry less if I go out by myself or I'm out doing things, because they know that she'll look after me.
So it's not just a positive effect on you.
It's on the whole family. It is. And then, Little Miss Unconditional Love makes a difference for everybody. So always happy. And then truthfully, now we work with the other teams all the time, and it means that if I'm out somewhere, even if I'm by myself and I run into another team, there's this moment when I'm out, okay, I'm not the only one out here doing this now. So it makes me more cognizant of how other people might be feeling too. When I haven't been good about it for myself, now I'm good about it for me and for someone else. So,
have you had any moments, and if you have, please tell us if you're comfortable. Have you had any moments, since you got Kai and since you've been involved with Soldier's Best Friend, where you went out and did something, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my God,
wow,
I wouldn't have been able to do that a year ago."
Honestly, the biggest event we probably did was the airport, and going through TSA. The big trip I did by myself this year, I went back to see my other daughter in Georgia, and Kai and I, sniffing lights, Kai and I went together. My husband stayed home because he's got college and clients and other things going on. So she and I traveled to Georgia, just the two of us. That was really big, and I would never have done that. And then now that we've done the airport, I don't have to get in the truck and make it a big long trip. I can just get on a plane and go now, which is a big relief if something happens with the grandkids or the kids, that I know that we can go. And that's a lot of pressure off of the family too. So, if there's an emergency, that I can go by myself now. So
a couple of years ago, the airport would have been a no way.
Right. And I didn't even 2 years ago, I didn't even go to doctor's appointments by myself. If I had to go see behavioral health, the last thing you want to do after a really bad session is get in a car and drive 3 hours back to Sierra Vista. So now she can go with me, and I can go to those appointments by myself, and that lessens the load on the family too.
If you, I use this sort of corny scenario. You walked into an elevator and you immediately realized there's another veteran in there with you who's struggling. In 20 seconds, how would you sell them on Soldier's Best Friend?
I actually let her sit and then say hello. It works every time. Every time. We've actually had that happen to us. We were at the VA, and I was going for an eye appointment, something really simple, but the person next to me was going to an oncology appointment. And because she alerts on my medical, she sometimes alerts on other people's medical too. And she went over and put her paw on him and looked at him and when he came back out, we were still waiting for our appointment. And he said, "Thank you." And so that's been very helpful. And then we get questions all the time because people are used to Malinois and German Shepherds, and she's not the standard. And so every time we get cute dog and what is she for and who trains her, then it's just an opening for us to talk about it and how amazing Leslie is in the group. So, and now we've gotten to work with Bailey and some of the other trainers as well, and that helps. And then anytime we're out with all the teams training, it's always a big event because after somebody passes, 4, 5, 6 dogs, they're like, "What is going on?" So.
Anything else you want to say about Soldier's Best Friend or your experience?
I think the experience for me has been that Kai has given me responsibility and routine and purpose every day. That's been very helpful. And I could not have done this without Soldier's Best Friend and Leslie and the teams. I couldn't have. So our journey's kind of just getting started, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And if I could give somebody else this kind of joy, I would be all over trying to help somebody else do it. So